I am dining in. Are you? Hey, good morning, everyone. This is session 7. This is dining in session 7. We're focusing on our relationship with food and relationships in general. And there's going to be a few key points today, so we're just going to cruise through them. I apologize for not being able to get this slide deck up as quickly as I would like, because it really is actually a good review of how we interact with food and generally how we want to build things. So let's get started. I'm going to jump right to slide number 5. Before I go there, I just want to say I understand that everyone's life is a little bit different right now. Everyone can be struggling with that change in routine, that all those different things can impact our eating behavior, but also our relationships and just our quality of life. So through this process, be strong. Try to figure out who you are, remember who you are, try to get into a new norm, a routine, so to speak, and build from there. But really try to have good thoughts about yourself and others and the world right now, because we need those good thoughts to help guide good behavior and good emotional control. That's going to be a topic for us today. So I'm going to skip to slide number 5. What is your relationship with sugar and flour? So that's one of the big things that we're talking about, is our relationship with sugar and flour overall. Sugar and flour have been the key components of what we've been talking about. Intermittent fasting has been an additional component. But I want you to go through a series of questions over the next few slides, and I'm just going to read them out loud so that you can start to understand what I'm going to ask you later, which is to try to build your beliefs about food. So do you want to be a person who doesn't eat sugar or flour regularly? Why or why not? Um, what are the reasons this makes sense, meaning not eating sugar and flour, if you want to stop overeating? And one of the things that we all probably know about ourselves is that when we're eating sugar and flour, we're probably also overeating other things, and that combination can be really problematic. What are the reasons it makes sense to give up sugar and flour so that we can lose fat? Why is it hard to physically give up sugar and flour? Answer these questions for yourself. Really think hard about them. Why it might be hard emotionally to give up sugar and flour. Especially during these times, I think it really helps us understand how connected we are to food to manage our emotion. Have we been taught, how have we been taught or conditioned that eating sugar and flour is normal? And I want you to look at that learning history too, because then you'll start to understand some of those subconscious thoughts that are driving your sugar and flour eating. You know, the rewards you got as a kid when you were having emotions, or having a bad day, or your dog died, or whatever, you would get treats to cover up that emotion, to soothe that emotion. And I think we have been conditioned. Can we find ways that it is abnormal to eat sugar or flour? So can you look at sugar and flour as being kind of an abnormal thing that it is to eating, or is there certain elements of eating sugar and flour that is abnormal? How can you think about sugar and flour differently if you really want to lose weight and stop eating? So how can you build those thoughts up here differently? A few more questions. What are the habits you have and the foods you currently eat that will need to change in order to give up sugar and flour? And so start to think about that bigger picture issue about your life routine and the behaviors and what that means. We're on slide number 7 now. What would be the easiest to give up, and what's the hardest? Now, if you answer these questions thoughtfully, one of the things that will happen is it will help you define that relationship with sugar and flour, the one that you truly want. It will help give you an image or a picture of what you really want to have your relationship look like as you move forward. And now we're going to move on to slide number 8, and start talking about that relationship with food in general. Remember that relationships with anything, whether it's food, self, or others, are always dependent on our thoughts, or our beliefs, which our beliefs are just a set of connected thoughts that go together, that fly together in a similar direction. And so when we have a single thought, it's much more powerful when we combine it with a group of thoughts that all have a powerful, passionate direction that they're going. Now, if we start to think about relationships, every relationship, whether it's with food or self or other, is directly connected to those beliefs or thoughts that we have about them. And so if we can start to define those thoughts more clearly, then all of a sudden that's going to start affecting our relationship, our beliefs, our behavior, our emotions associated with that. So let's try on a few. These are a few that I've tried on at various times, where I'll say something like, I am allergic to sugar and flour. Now, this can be true if you are a person that has gluten sensitivity, maybe, and you don't feel as well after you eat sugar or flour, or if you can relate it right to fat or something like that. So kind of try that one out, and kind of say, I'm allergic to sugar and flour. Now, if that's true, if you do have some sort of reaction, then hey, this is going to be easy. But you can also say, yeah, it's not good for me. Flour and sugar make me fat. That may be another one. Flour and sugar makes me feel old and tired. That might be another one, because one of the things I hear consistently from every person, and somebody just last night said it also, is that when you are intermittent fasting and limiting your sugar and flour, your body feels so much better. And it really does. And that means we know that sugar and flour are the most inflammatory substances we can consume on a consistent basis. So we really want to limit them. And they are going to make us feel tired. Try on this one. Eating sugar and flour are signs of mental weakness. Sometimes we can build those things in our mind that can make us fight against something like, I'm eating sugar and flour because I'm mentally weak. We say things like this all the time in other areas, but the question really is does it work for you? Can it help you focus on building your coping skills for that and say, yeah, you know what, I'm a tough person. I don't want to be seen as weak. I don't want to see myself that way. So I'm going to be able to stand up to those issues. On to slide number 9. We can take this a step further. And so we've kind of gone through the questions, then we've started building some beliefs. Now we're kind of taking it a step further and saying, overeating is stupid and I'm not a stupid person. Okay, so now we're getting to some of those core beliefs. We're defining that behavior of overeating as something that is inconsistent with one of our core beliefs about ourselves. And most of us don't see our core belief isn't I'm a stupid person. It's something other than that, and we want to build on that. Overeating is for unhealthy people, and that is not who I am right now or these days. Again, build that combination belief of this is who I am today, and this is not something that's consistent with that. And we want to build those things. Overeating is for people who have no willpower or discipline. And I have shown I have willpower and discipline. Okay, now we're building a different type of thing. So we can have these combination statements that can activate some of our core beliefs or brush up against those core beliefs, that then our brain goes, no, yeah, I see it now. That's not going to work for me. And I think that that's a wonderful thing for us to do, to put ourselves in the correct position. God, touching your face is really damn hard not to do. I've got a side theory. Why are men catching the coronavirus or COVID-19 more significantly than women? And it seems to be that's a consistent finding. And I have a theory on this. I believe it's because women put on makeup, and once you put on makeup, you're not likely to want to touch your face, or if you do, you're going to try to do it in a very subtle or tiny way, and not to mess up your makeup, so to speak. Whereas men, we blow our nose, touch our face, we do all this because we are not wearing makeup. And we can't even mess up our hair at times. And so we can really kind of do this in a lot of different ways. That's my theory. Okay, on to slide number 10 is we also want to develop those relationships with ourself and your body. So kind of begin to build those, and you can ask yourself questions, but you can start to build those beliefs like I have not always cared for my body very well, but now I'm going to try to treat my body with care and kindness. I need to care for my body now. My body needs to be like my favorite car. I need to care for it, give it the best fuel, service it regularly, keep it clean. I need to treat my body well and not poison it with sugar or flour. Now, I did talk about poison there. On to slide number 11. Just a side note is that alcohol, our body identifies alcohol as a poison. And that's one of the problems that we have with alcohol is that when we consume alcohol, our body actually says, hey, I've got to get this out of my system right away. This is a poison. And it stops a lot of our other functions. And so one of the things that it does is it really does change how our body reacts. The same thing is done with nicotine and other things. But we really have to understand that alcohol is a poison for us and does influence us in a way that stops the other processing. So just think about that as a second. And maybe one of those statements where you can say, I can't take too much of this poison in, as maybe one of those statements. Stress and other relationships, much of our life, happiness in life comes from relationships, but also a lot of our stress does as well. So our goal is to have a happy, great thoughts about, and beliefs about relationships with others and with ourselves. But all relationship activity is impacted by our thoughts and beliefs. And so if you value others, you are going to have a lot less stress in relationships in general. On to slide number 13. If you want to build good, loving relationships, the first rule is build positive thoughts, loving thoughts. When you're in love, it means you're having loving thoughts towards another person. The second key feature is understand that we all have flaws and accept those flaws of that other person in the context of your love for them, because they are a whole person. And we can't just say, well, I'm just going to take the good stuff and not take the bad and not the bad stuff. And third, work on a regular basis to remind yourself of your thoughts and beliefs that are loving. We need to keep them alive and present. Now on to 14, slide number 14. Generally, we want to, what are your beliefs about people in general? Do you believe that people are generally good? Do you believe that people are generally mean? These are going to be based on your history, and you have to question your history. You know, maybe it's based on your history with others, your relationship history, what you were taught, maybe your abuse history. But you have to question that at this point in your life and say, am I going to let that define how I interact with other people? What types of relationships do you want to have with other people? Positive, happy, healthy, supportive, encouraging, or negative or critical? No, we don't want those negative and critical ones. So really try to change those things. So on to slide number, and I think that my belief about people is that we all have a reason for doing what we do. And in my job, I get to figure out what that reason is. And I think that gives me the ability to walk into any room and take that person for who they are and really try to work with them to figure out why they do what they do or why they feel what they feel and why they think what they think. And that allows me to not have any judgments walking in. And it makes me really enjoy people regardless of their flaws or their issues or whatever it is, because they're just a person just like me that has this combination of things that has created a life the way that it has. But the great thing is they have the ability to change. Now, as we go through this, slide number 15, I hope this last slide, because I only got 20 seconds left, is we really want to identify our relationship with sugar and flour. We want to define our relationships. If you have toxic relationships in your life, you have to ask yourself why. Let's get rid of them. And thoughts about alcohol, and have loving thoughts. And I think I'm done because I need to be off this in 10 seconds. Good luck to everyone. This is session number 7. Relationships, and enjoy it. Make sure you have good relationships. Bye.